A recently released ex-con doesn't waste a second. Right out of prison, he starts planning a massive heist. His goal? To completely empty the vaults of Las Vegas casinos. And the way he designs this operation is so sharp and calculated that even the professor from Money Heist would be impressed. Every step of his plan is packed with clever moves that'll genuinely blow your mind. So to see just how far this robbery goes, here's the explanation of the masterpiece Ocean's 11. Without wasting any time, let's dive in. At the start of the movie, if you look at this well-dressed, smooth-talking guy in a suit, you might mistake him for a businessman or some high-ranking official, but that couldn't be further from the truth. He's actually a highly skilled, seasoned thief. 4 years ago, a man named Danny Ocean was sentenced for theft, and today marks the day of his parole. During his hearing, he tells the prison officers that his wife leaving him pushed him into a deep depression, which led him down the wrong path. But now, with freedom ahead and no one left to hold him back, he claims he wants to live the rest of his life as a good man. The judges seem convinced and grant his release. But looking at his face, do you really believe him? There's a sly, calculated look in his eyes, like he's already cooking up something big. And sure enough, the moment he's out, Danny gives himself a sharp makeover, cleaning up and dressing so well that no one would ever guess he just walked out of prison. The moment he gets out, he heads straight to a casino in Las Vegas, even though his parole clearly forbids him from leaving the state. Once inside, he asks around and tracks down his old partner, Rusty Ryan, a former partner in crime who now runs a high-stakes gambling scene and is known as a top-tier professional gambler. After Danny sits at a table and a poker game starts with a few players, Rusty eventually joins in. The two pretend not to recognize each other in front of everyone, but as soon as the game ends, they sit down together and catch up like old times. That's when Danny Ocean reveals his master plan. Because let's be real, a pro thief like him wasn't about to walk out of prison and suddenly turn honest. This time, though, he's thinking bigger, telling Rusty he's already mapped out a plan to rob the 3 biggest casinos in Vegas, basically promoting himself from thief to full-blown mastermind robber. Rusty hesitates at first, but the potential payoff is too tempting, and he eventually agrees to join in. But a plan this big needs serious manpower, preparation, and most importantly, heavy investment. So they go to meet wealthy businessman Ruben Tishkoff, who initially laughs it off, pointing out that the security in these casinos is so tight that pulling off a heist like this is practically impossible. These casinos have everything: cameras everywhere, advanced sensors, and heavily secured vaults guarded by teams carrying military-grade weapons. The kind of guys who look intimidating enough to scare anyone on sight. In all these years, no casino has ever successfully escaped their grip. If anything, robbers barely make it out the door before getting taken down by security. So you can already tell, trying to pull off a heist here is basically the same as inviting your own death. But for stubborn, high-level professionals like Danny and Rusty, it's just another challenge and they stick to their plan no matter what. Ruben, however, initially refuses to be part of it, and as they're about to leave, he casually asks which casinos they're targeting. That's when they reveal their plan: to hit the Bellagio, the Mirage, and MGM Grand all at once. The moment he hears those names, Ruben's interest suddenly spikes, because all 3 casinos belong to his business rival, Terry Benedict, the very man who kept him from building his own casino empire. So even though he wasn't interested at first, hearing Benedict's name flips the switch, and he immediately agrees to fund the operation. With financial backing secured, Danny and Rusty start assembling their crew, dividing the plan into different roles and recruiting the best specialists in the city, each one a wild, eccentric personality whose style and behavior are so over the top that watching them in action is actually pretty entertaining. First, they team up with Frank Catton, who works as a waiter at the Bellagio Casino, the same guy Danny was seen talking to earlier while asking about Rusty, and he's set to play a key role in this massive heist. Before putting the plan into motion, they recruit 2 mechanic brothers, Virgil and Turk, who are experts at handling any kind of robbery as drivers and technical support. Then, one by one, they bring in surveillance expert Livingston, veteran con artist Saul, and acrobatics specialist Yen, each of them perfectly suited for a high-stakes operation like this. Once the crew is assembled, they shift their focus to explosives, which leads them to Bashir, a top-tier demolition expert who, at the time, is busy pulling off a bank robbery. His method of cracking open vaults using explosives is so slick it could blow anyone's mind, but while he manages to break into the vault, his team fails to properly disable the security system. The moment they enter the sealed vault, alarms go off loudly, and the police quickly arrive and arrest them. Just as Bashir is being taken away, Rusty suddenly shows up, posing as an officer from the firearms department and flashing a fake ID. He convinces the police to step aside, pretending he'll handle the situation. But within moments, he creates a diversion with an explosion and helps Basher escape right under their noses. The two already know each other, and once Basher hears about the plan, he immediately jumps on board. This way, they recruit 7 specialists, each an expert in their own field, and finally bring in a professional pickpocket named Linus to complete the crew. With the 8 recruits plus Danny, Rusty, and Ruben, the team is now a full 11 members strong. Together, they settle into Ruben's house in Las Vegas, and that night, Danny gathers everyone to brief them on the plan. The Bellagio, the Mirage, and MGM Grand are 3 of the biggest casinos in the city, and according to Nevada Gaming Commission rules, each casino must hold an equal amount of cash to match the value of the gaming chips in play. If you've seen casino-related movies before, you already know players use chips instead of real cash while gambling. Across these 3 casinos, the total value of chips in circulation daily comes to at least $70.80 million. But in a few days, there's a major boxing match scheduled, and on that day, these casinos will be at their absolute peak, with transactions potentially hitting around $150 million. That entire amount will be stored in a massive vault located 200 feet beneath the Bellagio's main floor. Hearing that number makes everyone's eyes light up. But from Danny's tone, it's clear he already sees the money as theirs. Still, he reminds them that the security systems are extremely advanced, and even getting inside requires passing through multiple checkpoints, including reinforced doors and heavily guarded sections known as casino cages. Each of these doors can only be opened with a PIN code, and those codes automatically change every 12 hours. After getting past them, they'd have to take an elevator down, but that elevator only works with the fingerprints of the casino owner, Terry Benedict, along with his chief security officer and manager. If anyone tries to bypass the fingerprint system and manually force the elevator down, motion sensors will instantly lock it in place. Even if they somehow make it down, the job doesn't exactly get easy. They'd still have to deal with 2 heavily armed, highly trained guards standing right in front of the vault. And if they manage to take them out, then comes the real challenge, breaking into one of the most secure vaults in the world. But before any of that, they'd first need to shut down the entire surveillance system inside the casino. And let's say they pull all of that off and actually open the vault. Then comes another problem. How do you walk out with $150 million in cash? It sounds completely unrealistic, but that massive number is exactly what motivates everyone to take on the impossible. Once the briefing is done, Danny puts the plan into motion, and preparations begin immediately. Since a heist of this scale needs time, he assigns everyone to go inside the casinos and closely observe the guards, learning their names, tracking their movements, noting where they stay, what they eat, and every small detail about their daily routines. Next, Rusty manages to steal a guard's punch card with the help of a dancer, and using that card, they send Livingston into the casino disguised as a maintenance worker so he can plant a chip inside the surveillance system. With that chip in place, they'd be able to control all the casino's security cameras remotely from Ruben's house. Livingston successfully punches in, gets access to the surveillance room, and installs the chip without any issues. The moment it's activated, Danny and Rusty start monitoring live CCTV footage from inside the casino right from Ruben's place. But on his way out, Livingston runs into a guard. Naturally, he tries to leave quickly, but when the guard calls out to him from behind, he panics and almost bolts. Turns out, the guard just hands him his phone, which he nearly left behind in his rush. Watching this unfold on the monitors, Danny and Rusty almost have a heart attack, but luckily, Livingston makes it back safely. Meanwhile, Danny had also sent Basher to inspect the casino's power supply, since they'd need to cut it off on the night of the heist. Linus is also sent in disguised as a balloon vendor to scout the place from the inside. Finally, once all the groundwork is done, they move on to the biggest part of their preparation, building a full-scale replica of the Bellagio vault to practice the heist. Before attempting the real vault, they need to practice on the replica. So, while everyone is busy building it, Rusty goes to check in with Linus, who has been sneaking into the casino in different disguises to gather intel. From him, Rusty learns that Benedict is extremely alert and strict. He shows up at his casino every day, personally reviews all the accounts with the manager, knows every guard by face, and even meets high-profile guests who come in to gamble. And if anyone ever crosses him, he doesn't stop until he completely destroys them. At one point, he even ruined an employee and his entire family over a theft incident. But despite all that, Benedict has one weakness, just like most billionaires: a woman. Linus hasn't figured out her name yet, but the moment Rusty sees her, he immediately recognizes her as Tess. That raises a bigger question: how does Rusty know her? The answer comes in the next moment, when he pulls Danny aside and warns him that if this entire plan is about Tess, he's out. That's when it's revealed that Tess is actually Danny's ex-wife, and now she's in a relationship with Benedict. Danny admits that she is part of the reason behind targeting Benedict, but insists he knows how to keep his emotions in check and won't do anything reckless before the plan is fully executed. Around the same time, we finally see Benedict on screen, and his presence alone makes it obvious he's a powerful billionaire, while Tess is introduced as a museum curator and his current partner. After meeting her at the museum, Danny invites Tess to meet him at night, and she agrees. That night, while she's sitting in a restaurant waiting for Benedict, someone places a hand on her shoulder. But it's not Benedict. It's her husband, Danny. The moment Tess sees him, she tells him to leave immediately. Danny apologizes for his past and asks her to come back to him. But Tess is completely unmoved and makes it clear she is now with Benedict. She warns Danny that whatever he's planning is dangerous and could turn into a scandal if Benedict ever finds out. But Danny already knows exactly what he's doing. Meanwhile, Saul shows up at the casino disguised as a wealthy businessman, a role carefully prepared by Danny, who had dressed him in a suit and tie and arranged bodyguards so he would look like a real billionaire. Saul introduces himself to the manager as a weapons dealer named Jim Garrison and requests a meeting with Benedict. When Benedict arrives, Saul puts on a flawless Russian accent and explains that a valuable briefcase filled with high-end diamonds will soon arrive in Las Vegas, and he needs a highly secure place to store it. Benedict offers the casino's safe house, but Saul immediately refuses, saying the security there isn't strong enough for something this valuable. He insists he needs a place with even higher security, and by now it's obvious what Saul is hinting at. He wants Benedict to agree to store the briefcase inside the casino vault. Of course, what actually ends up inside those boxes instead of valuables will be revealed soon. After wrapping up their discussion, Benedict heads to meet Tess and finds her sitting with Danny, who she introduces as her ex-husband. Benedict already knows about Danny's prison record and takes a few jabs at him, but Danny keeps his cool and doesn't react. As Benedict and Tess start getting affectionate right in front of him, Danny quietly walks away because there's only so much anyone can take. But he's not the type to let it slide, and payback is already in motion. Back at Ruben's house, after building an exact replica of the casino vault, Danny begins running practice sessions with the crew. The plan involves sneaking Yen inside the vault, hidden in a cash box, so he can unlock it from the inside. And during practice, Yen proves he's absolutely perfect for the job. But right in the middle of training, Basher shows up covered in grime. He had been sent to inspect the power supply and ended up crawling through underground tunnels. He reports that something has gone wrong with the system they were supposed to blow, and now casino electricians are actively trying to fix it. Since the power lines are set up separately, disabling them directly is extremely difficult. But Basher has another idea. If they can use a pinch device to generate an electromagnetic pulse, they can shut down the power supply for 30 seconds. And that short window is all they need to get inside. After hearing this, Danny and Rusty take a few crew members and successfully steal the device. However, before entering the building, they had left Linus inside, and things quickly go sideways. While Virgil and Turk start arguing in the van, Linus gets annoyed, steps out, and walks into the building. By the time Danny returns with the device, they realize Linus is missing and soon spot him running across the second floor being chased by security. Danny quickly orders the van to move and Linus seizes the moment, crashing through a window and jumping onto the roof. During the escape, Yen injures his hand again while trying to get inside, making the whole situation feel like a chaotic circus. Somehow, they manage to get away and return to Ruben's house, only to face more bad news. Livingston informs Danny that Benedict has flagged him, meaning he'll be closely watched inside the casino. Rusty immediately blames Danny, saying this happened because he went to meet Tess, and now the entire plan is at risk, declaring he's out of the job. Now, all control shifts to Rusty. The plan originally required Danny to trigger the vault explosives after entering the casino, but once Yen agrees to handle that part, Danny is no longer essential and doesn't argue much. Finally, the night of the heist arrives. Before the boxing match begins, Virgil and Turk deliver Saul's briefcase, with Saul disguised as a wealthy client. Benedict, being extremely cautious, personally escorts him to the vault. On the way, someone in the distance recognizes Saul and calls out his name, but everyone assumes it's just a random crazy person, and Saul's teammates, posing as security, escort the man away. Inside the vault, the briefcase is scanned and reveals nothing but a few green gemstones. Convinced it's safe, Benedict agrees to store it but refuses Saul entry, saying he doesn't trust him, and instead has his manager place it inside. As the briefcase is being taken in, Linus, disguised as a Nevada Gaming Commission officer, approaches Benedict and starts questioning him. Earlier, Benedict had already been alerted by a guard that Danny was seen inside the casino, so he assigns 2 men to follow him. Meanwhile, as Linus keeps Benedict occupied, Rusty quietly arranges for Yen to be smuggled into the vault inside a trunk, setting the next phase of the plan into motion. Since Yen is a gymnast, he easily fits inside the trunk. Meanwhile, Linus, disguised as a gaming officer, tells Benedict that a convicted criminal is working in his casino under a fake name, someone going by Raymond, whose real name is Frank Catton. Now wait, Frank is part of their own crew, so why expose him? That twist hits in a moment. While Linus is talking, Frank suddenly acts furious and lunges at him, and Linus steps aside to avoid him. But in that split second, he pulls off the real move. As you already know, Linus is a pickpocket, and he smoothly lifts the paper from Benedict's pocket that contains the next 12-hour security codes. That whole setup with Frank was just a distraction to make it happen. Honestly, the level of planning is insane. Benedict doesn't overreact though. He simply has Frank fired and escorted out. Taking advantage of the distraction, Virgil and Turk move forward with their part, posing as cash handlers and bringing the money trunk, inside which Yen is hiding, to the vault guards. When asked for ID, they claim they left it at home and even start arguing with each other to make it look real. The guards, not too suspicious, allow them through. At the same time, Danny, already inside the casino, suddenly approaches Tess. Tess tells him that she already knows he's up to something and warns him that if he tries anything shady, he'll be in serious trouble. Danny calmly replies that he's only there to say goodbye, and then unexpectedly kisses her. Seeing this, the two guards following him decide to take him to another room under the pretense of meeting Benedict, but in reality, they bring him there to get beaten up. And waiting inside is a large, intimidating man prepared for it. In front of the guards, the man punches Danny hard in the face, but once the guards leave, he immediately apologizes, saying he hit him too hard, revealing that he was actually hired by Danny all along. The same man then escorts Danny toward the top section of the elevator shaft, where Danny quickly climbs up without hesitation. Meanwhile, Linus successfully passes through multiple security doors and reaches the elevator area, but at that exact moment, a guard notices him on CCTV and becomes suspicious. At the same time, Saul begins his part of the distraction, pretending to suffer a sudden heart attack, while security is still watching the feed of the briefcase inside the vault. As Saul collapses, panic spreads and attention shifts away from the monitors as people rush to call a doctor. This distraction allows Livingston to loop old surveillance footage over the live feed, since he already has full control of the casino's camera system. That's exactly why Saul faked the heart attack, to pull all attention away from the screens at the perfect moment. What happens next is even more shocking. The doctor who is called in to examine Saul turns out to be Rusty in disguise. After a brief check, he performs some pressure on Saul's chest and confidently declares him dead. Using the cover provided by Virgil and Turk, they then carry Saul out of the area. Watching this unfold, I couldn't even hold back my laugh. Meanwhile, Linus opens the elevator hatch and is stunned to find Danny sitting inside it. At that moment, he realizes that his earlier argument with Rusty was just a staged distraction. Linus and Danny then attach ropes to the outside of the elevator shaft and prepare to descend. They signal Livingston and Basher, who have been waiting with the EMP device. Once the signal is received, Basher activates it, triggering a small explosion that generates a powerful electromagnetic pulse, shutting down all electricity in Las Vegas for 30 seconds. At that exact moment, Benedict is watching the boxing match with Tess, completely unaware of what is happening inside his casino. Using the darkness, Linus and Danny drop a light strip from above and use its glow to climb down the ropes into the casino cage. As soon as the 30-second blackout ends, power begins to return, but by then the job is already done. They are standing right in front of the vault. Two guards are still stationed there, but they are quickly knocked unconscious using a device. After clearing them away, they reach the main vault door, which leads to an even more secure inner vault where the actual money is stored. The outer section of the vault holds valuables, and Saul's briefcase is right there. After coming down through the elevator route, Danny grabs the briefcase and removes the diamonds. Then he bangs hard on the vault door from the outside. Hearing the signal, Yen, who's already inside, jumps toward the door and starts knocking back, guiding Danny on where to place the explosives. And here's the twist. Those diamonds from the briefcase are actually the explosives. Yeah, the plan just keeps getting crazier. Following Yen's signals, Danny sets the charges on the door and pulls out the trigger. But there's a problem. Yen's bandaged hand gets stuck near the door. Livingston sees this on the monitor and desperately tries to warn Danny not to press the trigger, but no signal can reach him inside that sealed space. If the explosion goes off now, Yen is done for. Danny presses the trigger, and nothing happens. Turns out, he forgot to insert the battery into the device. After quickly fixing it, he presses again, and this time the explosion blows the vault door open. That brief delay ends up saving Yen's life. Meanwhile, Livingston sends another signal to Rusty, who has already switched from his doctor disguise into yet another role, staying one step ahead in the plan. Now he dials a phone number, and the phone suddenly rings inside Tess's pocket. She is completely shocked because she doesn't even own a cell phone. Still, she answers it, and on the other end, Rusty speaks, telling Benedict that they are currently robbing his casino vault. But the timing of this call feels strange, almost like another mind game meant to confuse everyone. At the same time, Tess starts getting even more confused when she realizes the phone in her pocket was planted by Danny. She eventually figures out it happened during their goodbye kiss, when he slipped it in without her noticing. Meanwhile, Rusty tells Benedict to check his security cameras, and when he looks at the monitors, everything appears normal at first. But Livingston switches from fake footage to the real live feed, and Benedict suddenly sees the shocking truth. Danny, Linus, and Yen are inside the vault, filling bags with his 150 million. Seeing this, Benedict completely loses control, and in anger he orders Tess to leave the casino immediately. She walks out without resistance. Right after that, he tells Rusty that, congratulations, he has successfully broken into his vault, but he will not make it out alive. Rusty calmly replies that Benedict himself will decide their fate because they have only packed half of the money into bags, while the other half is rigged with explosives. If Benedict takes any aggressive action, they will blow everything up, but if he stays calm and follows their instructions, he will be allowed to keep the remaining half. Now, the remaining half of the money is supposed to be loaded into a van parked outside the casino by Benedict's own men. Rusty warns that if any guard even touches the driver, both the vault and the van will be blown up, leaving Benedict with only one real option: save half the money. Reluctantly, he agrees, but his manager secretly alerts the SWAT team anyway. Outside the hotel, Tess approaches Rusty, while inside, Benedict's guards follow instructions and load the cash into the van. However, once the van starts moving, his men begin tailing it. At the same time, the SWAT team cuts the power and reaches near the vault, but just before they enter, a massive explosion goes off inside. When they get in, they report that the vault is completely empty, and Danny, Linus, and Yen are nowhere to be found. It seems like they escaped before SWAT arrived. Benedict now suspects he's been double-crossed and that the entire money is being taken away in the van, so he immediately orders his men to stop it. But just as they close in, the van suddenly stops on its own. They shoot out the tires, but moments later, a loud blast erupts inside. Yet instead of fire, it only releases smoke. The bags are filled with party flyers, not cash, and when they check the driver's seat, no one is there, just a camera. The van was being remotely controlled the entire time. When Benedict's men report that there's no money in the van, he's completely stunned. Those bags the guards loaded were filled with party flares. So where did the real money go? He quickly calls his manager and asks him to check whether the vault footage shows the Bellagio label on the floor. When the answer comes back no, everything clicks. What he saw wasn't real. The vault floor had recently been updated with a Bellagio tile, which means the footage was shot in a perfectly replicated vault. That's when the truth hits. This entire vault scene was staged in advance. And where was it filmed? At Ruben's house, inside the replica vault they built. That practice was never just practice. It was a masterstroke. The real heist had already happened before Benedict even realized it, and while he was distracted watching fake footage, the crew had already escaped with the money. To make things worse, the SWAT team he called was never real. The call was rerouted to Livingston, and Rusty's team showed up disguised as SWAT, triggered the explosion, and walked out with the cash in SWAT vehicles. It's the kind of plan that would leave even the smartest masterminds speechless. Meanwhile, Benedict is completely shaken, unable to process what just happened, and in frustration and anger, he starts wondering if Danny was behind everything all along. Immediately, Benedict rushes back to the room where he had sent Danny to get beaten up. But when he opens the door, he finds that the same man is still getting hit, meaning Danny had already finished what he needed to do and quietly returned to continue acting like nothing happened. Benedict directly asks him whether he had any involvement in the robbery, but Danny reacts as if he has fallen from the sky, completely confused, asking what robbery he is even talking about. Seeing his reaction, Benedict orders his guards to throw him out. As Danny is being escorted away, he casually says, "Did someone just steal everything from your casino?" That single line makes Benedict stop him again and demand a straight answer about whether he is involved. Instead of answering, Danny asks him a different question. "If he can get your money back, will you leave Tess?" Benedict, without hesitation, agrees, proving that money is everything to him. Danny then claims he knows someone who has access to information about every major thief in America and says he needs 72 hours to track the robbery. But Benedict no longer trusts him and orders the police to arrest him for violating parole. Meanwhile, Rusty calls Tess and tells her to turn on the TV in her hotel room and switch to channel 88. When she does, she sees the live conversation between Danny and Benedict, including Benedict agreeing to abandon her for money. At that moment, Tess fully realizes that someone like Benedict could drop her at any time without a second thought. But Danny genuinely loved her, which is exactly why he went through all of this in the first place. Meanwhile, police were taking him away for violating his parole since he wasn't allowed to travel outside the state. Tess steps in and tells the police that he is her husband. Earlier, when Benedict called out to her in a panic, she simply replied that she had seen everything, and then turned away and left without looking back. At that point, it becomes clear. Benedict loses both his money and the woman he cared about. Before Danny is fully taken away, Tess and Danny's relationship quietly returns to how it was before. For breaking parole, he is sentenced to 6 months in jail. By the time he gets out, his crew is already living comfortably, each of them having received around $13 million as their share. After his release, Rusty comes to pick him up. As Danny gets into the car, he sees Tess waiting there for him in her street clothes, and the spark between them comes back just like before. But Benedict is not someone who gives up easily. As the car starts moving, 2 of his men begin following them, hinting that this story is far from over. And just like that, the movie comes to an end, leaving the door open for future installments where Danny and Benedict's rivalry continues.